All right, what if you need to improvise and you don't have any paper and you're wondering how can you make your box? Well, I imagine that most everybody has notebook paper. So what you can do is with the notebook paper, it generally has a red line on here. You're going to take your ruler and you're just going to measure up to that. So your box is going to be slightly smaller because you can see this comes in at 7.5. So I'm going to just take my paper and I am going to measure from this edge here 7.5. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to look, and it looks like 7.5 comes in right at this mark here. And I'm going to come down on this outside edge here, and I am going to mark off 7.5 right there. So 7.5. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I am going to connect both of those lines like this. And then I am going to use this red line as a guideline to cut my paper. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to use the scissors, and I'm just going to follow, I'll show you here, I'm going to follow this red line, trying to keep it as straight as possible. So I'm just going to use the blades of the scissors and try and stay straight on that line. Okay, and then I'm going to come in here where the half line is, and I'm going to cut along my pencil line. All right, so this one is 7.5 by 7.5, which means that the second one is going to have to be 7 by 7. So I have, this is going to be my cover, and now I'm going to take my second piece of notebook paper and I am going to make this one 7 by 7. So I can come in here, I'm going to use the opposite side here, and I'm just going to mark off 7. And I'm going to come down here and mark off 7. So I'm taking it from the edge, lining it up. I'm going to mark off 7 here. Then I'm going to take my ruler, put it between those two marks, and I am going to draw a line. Okay, so draw a line. And then I'm going to just pick one of my edges, and I am then going to mark off 7. So, because it needs to be a 7 by 7 square, so I'm going to mark off 7 here. I'm going to come up here and mark off 7 here. There. And then I'm going to take those two marks and I'm going to connect them to make a square. Okay, so I'm going to come in here. Alright, so now I have my 7 by 7 square. And I am going to come in and cut out my second square. So this will be the bottom of my box. Alright. Now, say you want to make a stamp, to put a stamp design on your paper, but you don't have the foam because you didn't get a kit from me. You can use a styrofoam tray from any piece of food that you bought. A lot of times they come on a styrofoam tray. So I'm going to just cut out a piece of styrofoam here. And again, with the styrofoam design, keep in mind that a print is always backwards. So if you're thinking about a name, that name should be in reverse. So make that in reverse. And what I recommend is that you have a drawing first so that you can just trace your drawing. And you don't necessarily have to cut around the shape. I'm just grabbing this one because I have it handy. I don't know, or maybe I'll use this one here. I'll use this one here. So you're going to just come in and you want to put your pencil on a slight angle so that it's not piercing directly into the foam, but it's sort of dragging a line along it so that it's taking your pattern and you're taking that contour and tracing it into the foam. I have my plate, and what I want to do is just take my scissors and I am going to follow the contour of this image and just cut it free from the background. Both things, both the notebook paper and the foam, are things that you can find around without having to buy anything. Okay, so now I'm going to come in and I'll just show you how to put the marker and do a print so that you can see how that's done. So I'm going to just put a base layer of yellow, and when you're doing this, just be careful to hold the sides, because if you put your hand directly on the plate, it's going to pull up the color that you just put down there, and so you'll just want to be mindful of that. So now I have my design. Now my next step would be, is if this is going to be on the front of my box and I want it in the center, I'm going to just be thinking about this part here, because this is primarily where the front and top, the top of your box will land, is in the center area. So I'm taking some water, but I'm not making it puddle. I'm just trying to saturate that paper a little bit, so that when I put my foam down there and I push on the back, that what it's going to do is it'll transfer down the color. And then I'll lift up, and so now you can see that it has transferred my design down on the page. So I could do this multiple times and fill this whole design, but because you know, we don't have time for all of that, because you don't want to sit here and watch me make art the whole time. You can also go back in and you could draw, like if you didn't like your print and you want to make it stand out a little bit more, you could draw into it and make it be perfect. You could write yourself a letter. You could say, I am so proud of myself for getting through distance learning. Okay, so you could write yourself a little note. You could draw things, like maybe I want spirals, but you'd want to just fill this in with different things. You could collage things down. If you have some watered down glue, you could put little bits of tissue paper. So maybe I want to come in here and I could take some tissue paper and I could add little bits of tissue paper on my design to make it stand out. And you could water down glue if you want to do it glue, paper glue, like the Mod Podge version, or you could simply come in with your glue and then just put little dots where you want those bits to be, and then just put them on top. And that's just going to add a little visual flourish to your design to make it a little bit more exciting, and you'll start to realize that you're losing the fact that it's notebook paper and it's becoming a piece of art, right? So what you want to do is just try and make something that shows me that you are creating some image-based artwork to show me that you know how to express yourself visually, and that is meeting the A through G requirement for art. So now I have my top. It looks like I forgot one. I gotta put that down. I'm just gonna get another piece of this pink and put that down there because I see that wet glue there. All right, so then you can go ahead and you could decorate your bottom cover as well. So when you're making your box, you do have to start by folding inward, so it's evenly folded in half, and you really want to make sure that you're lining up these edges so that they're flush. Once they're done, you just want to crease it with your fingernail to make sure that it is firmly set, and then come in here again, crease it with your fingernail like this, okay, like so. Now what you're going to do is you are going to then turn these pieces here, so you're going to turn it up, so you got these little corners coming in here, and you want to fold each one inward like so. And then what you have is, if you ever made them in elementary school, like a fortune teller or a cootie catcher, and then you're going to come in and you're going to bring these parts faced in, right? So like this and this. Okay. And again, I'm going to crease. I want to be really mindful of making a really sharp fold. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for this. Come in here, bring it to the middle, so like where that triangle top is. Turn it again, bring this one in here, bring it to the triangle top. Okay, and then what you do is you come in and you want to pull two of these out. So I'm going to pull these two out. And in order to assemble your box, you want to sort of tap it behind these two squares here, not under the triangle, slightly below the triangle. You're going to tap in these two squares, and what's going to happen is it will start naturally folding along the lines that you've creased in there. And as long as you have them nice and straight, you're going to just be able to push that down. And I'll show you again. So I'm creasing right here below the triangle. So if you think of this as a triangle, there's two squares, one to the left and the right. You're going to push from the bottom up. And then that's going to help you just fold this in, and that's going to give you a nice little box. So again, this one was our 7 by 7 because we're using notebook paper, so it's a little bit smaller. Okay. And you could then, all right, so then I'm going to take my second one. Where did it go? My second one. Oh, here it is. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to first, with the image side up, I'm going to fold it in half and crease it. And then do it again. Crease it. So now I have 4 corners, 4 different areas. And then with the image side down, you're just going to come in and you're going to just fold. And again, when I go to fold, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open 2 of these sides, leave 2 closed, the top and the bottom closed, the left and the right I'm going to open. And you want to look for that square. So there's a square here, and a triangle there. Where the square is, you're going to push up. So it starts, see how it's like falling along that little diagonal you have there? And then it's naturally going to fold in where the straight edge is. So you're just going to like push that in like so, okay? And then you just tap that down like that, okay? So I'm going to do the same thing over here. Again, push from the back of the squares, push in, like where that little impressed line is, and then make sure your corners line up, and then gently push it down, okay? So there I go. Now I have my top, this is my bottom, and I am ready to put my objects inside, okay? So that is how you can do this with just notebook paper and get the same result.